What is up, everyone? This is James. Okay, if you told me, James, a crossover between Stranger Things and TMNT would be so cool and would work, I would have said, you're crazy, no way would it work. However, after reading this issue, I would have been so wrong. This crossover is amazing. So if you're a fan of Stranger Things like me, bear with me while I explain it for people that aren't familiar with the show. I will be spoiling the show a bit, really just the first season, so if you haven't seen the show, you have been warned. So Stranger Things is a show that revolves around a town called Hawkins in the 1980s. Initially, it's about four young friends, Mike, Dustin, Lucas, and Will. Their lives take a turn when Will mysteriously disappears one night. In their quest for answers, they encounter a mysterious girl named 11, who is a badass with telekinetic and psychokinetic powers. They eventually find out 11, who they end up calling L for short, is a product of a secret government program at the Hawkins National Laboratory, where they're committing unethical experiments on children with psychic abilities, aiming to enhance them further. The program was headed by research scientist Dr. Martin Brenner, who Elle calls Papa. He's not really her father, but she views him as a father figure. The experiments involve sensory deprivation, psychological manipulation, and exposure to the Upside Down and its dangerous creatures. Now, the Upside Down is an alternate dimension. It is a dark, decayed, and hazardous version of the real world. It's where Will was taken to the night he disappeared. By the end of the first season, Will's eventually saved, and 11 becomes a permanent member of what Mike calls their party. It refers to their D&D group. Fast forward to 1985, where the story opens to today. The Hawkins crew, which is what I'll refer to them as going forward, is on a field trip to New York City. A new addition to the party who is here is Max. She joins them in season 2. So this story takes place between season 2 and 3 of the show. But trust me, if you've never watched the show, you can still enjoy this story. The writer behind this series, Chittock, seems to take that into consideration. 11 eventually meets up with the group. They all end up missing the subway train their classmates were on, but after the train leaves, the group hears something familiar coming from the tunnels. 11 causes a distraction so they could sneak onto the train tracks and investigate. As they walk through the tunnel, they encounter something very familiar: the demi-dogs from the Upside Down. All you need to know about the demi-dogs is that they are vicious, fast creatures that like human flesh. But these aren't the usual demi-dogs that the Hawkins crew faces. These demi-dogs have mechanical parts, and we'll find out more about that later. As 11 is about to tear these creatures apart, suddenly who comes out of the shadows, taking the demi-dogs down, are the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Now, what makes this even cooler is this is the original Turtles. I recently covered their debut issue. The link to it will be in a pinned comment below, so check it out after this video. The Turtles use their ninja skills to decimate these mechanical demi-dogs. The Turtles initially mistake them for the Mousers. Now, the Mousers are a creation of the notorious Baxter Stockman, an old TMNT villain. He's the quintessential mad scientist. That's all I will say for now, because in the next story I'll be covering on the original Turtles, we'll witness their very first encounter with the Mousers and Baxter Stockman. It's going to be mind-blowing, so be on the lookout for that. When Donatello realizes that they're not the Mousers, at that moment, a group of demi-dogs come charging toward them out of the shadows. But 11, using her telekinetic powers, absolutely wrecks them. Later, in the Turtles' lair, the Turtles receive an info dump from the Hawkins group on psychic powers, the Upside Down, and everything that's happened to them in their lives. The Hawkins crew, shocked at the sight of him, ends up meeting Master Splinter. He tells both groups in order to find out what this new threat is, they have to work together and share information. I really like the back and forth between characters of both groups that happens here. Chittock really displays he is familiar with all these characters, their dynamics, and how they would interact with each other. Mike explains to the Turtles that the demi-dogs are predators, who once they are fully grown become demi-gorgons. Now, the demi-gorgons are a lot more terrifying. If you've seen the show, you already know. These things have superhuman strength, durability, and have a healing factor. I really hope we get to see the Turtles battle against one of those things in this series, because that fight is going to be crazy. Now the Hawkins group wonders why the Demogorgons are here and why they follow them so far from Hawkins. Will reminds them that the Demogorgons didn't follow them. The Upside Down is the other side of the real world. No matter where they go, it's always going to be there. Donatello, reflecting on the bodies of the mechanical demidogs, surmises that the mechanical components and programming has Stockman written all over it. But the Turtles assume it can't be him since he's in prison. In order to confirm that he's still in prison, 11 volunteers to check and see if he is. Now how 11 is going to do this is by using her mental void ability, where she blindfolds herself and uses the white noise from a television or a radio receiver to enter a void where she can track where anyone is. It's basically her version of Professor X's Cerebro. Leo offers 11 one of their headbands to be used as a blindfold, but he takes it as a serious gesture because the headbands mean a lot to him and his brothers. And I love what he says here. He says, "You can borrow this, but you haven't earned it. We worked hard to hone our bodies and minds into our best weapons. Nothing was handed to us like your powers." 11 enters the void and ends up finding Stockman with one of the mechanical demidogs at his desk, writing the number 11 on multiple sheets of paper. She informs everyone she found Stockman and confirms he isn't in prison. She also reveals that Stockman is aware of her and knows she's coming, because on all these sheets of paper, he not only put the number 11 on them, but also an address. Both teams decide they need to split into two groups. One group consisting of Raphael, Donatello, Dustin, Max, and 11, a perfect group of brains and brawn by the way. They will find Baxter and stop him, and the other group consisting of Leo, Michelangelo, Mike, Will, and Lucas will hold off any more Demi-Mosers in the subway as long as they can. Splinter sends them on their way with an awesome speech. He says, though both groups are heading into different directions, remember, you share the same burden. You will not have the comfort of your friends beside you, and brief though our alliance has been, trust is the only path to take now. If not yet in each other, then in your mission. Evil like this, whether of another dimension or man's, cannot spread. If it does, there is no corner it will not reach, and no door it will not darken. 11's group tracks down Stockman, but it ends up being an ambush. Stockman reveals that he has worked with Dr. Brenner and knows everything about 11. The issue ends with the group in an all-out brawl with Stockman's forces. That's the end of the video. I would greatly appreciate it if you would hit that like button, comment down below, and let me know what you thought about this epic crossover. Other than that, have an awesome day, and always remember every day to go beyond. See you later.